I am so glad you convinced me that the family car should be the Defender 110. It is so beautiful inside, it's so comfortable, and it just feels indestructible.
Yes, it really is. I've been waiting a long time for the new model to come out. The Defender 110, I'm telling you, it's my favorite car of all times. It's my third one. You know, I have stories of going off road. The guy managed the group. He was like, "What are you doing in this beautiful car?" I'm like, "I'm going off road." He's like, "Are you sure? Because you can use one of ours." And then they look like Mad Max cars. I'm like, "No, no, 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 we're going to do this." And he was shocked.
Wow. Well, it's great because the Defender has been reimagined for 21st century adventure, and its unparalleled off-road ability as well as its robust interior are invaluable whether you're headed towards uncharted territory or just a weekend of exploration. The Defender 110 tackles challenging surroundings with absolute confidence. The SUV conveys strength outside and in, featuring peerless technology like an intuitive driver display and an award-winning infotainment system. That's my favorite part, to keep you connected no matter where the journey takes you. Adventure is unique to everyone, and so is the Defender. Choose from the two-door Defender 90, the four-door Defender 110, or the larger Defender 130 with the ability to seat up to 8 passengers. You'll find uncompromising performance in all three. So pack up and go even further with the Defender 110. Learn more at LandRoverUSA.com/Defender.
These days, we're all investors, trying to be smart with our money despite our worst impulses. But at iShares, we believe that deep down inside of every investor is a better investor. One that's just waiting to be let out. Explore iShares ETFs and insights and let your best investor out. Visit iShares.com for more information.
This isn't your average business podcast, and he's not your average host. This is the James Altucher Show. Today on the James Altucher Show.
Get ready to meet the Fury. I had heard of this guy a little bit. He has a mailing list, and he has a lot of interesting Twitter threads, but I was very impressed. His audience is so passionate about his content that they were tweeting on and on, "Please have the Fury on your podcast." So here he is. Fury. Everybody on Twitter was saying, you got to have Fury on the podcast. This is Fury. How'd you get the name Fury?
Well, you know the movie by David Ayer, the war movie. He had the tank. It was called The Fury. And Brad Pitt in this movie has a very iconoclastic haircut. It's like an undercut with a slick back and like shaved on the sides.
Uh-huh.
And back in 2015, I had that haircut. And one of my bros, he just kept calling me Fury, and that's it.
Around this time, you went on Twitter and you built up this really big following that, again, they're like really loyal to you. Like it was from them. I was hearing, you've got to have this guy Fury on the podcast. Like they really advocate for you. So you've built up this very strong, loyal audience. And I see your threads. They're great. They're compelling.
Thank you.
Like, what's your story? Like where, I know you've traveled around a bit.
Yeah.
You've written a bunch of novels. You're from the Netherlands originally.
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
Well, I can share that, yeah. So I was born and bred in Rotterdam. It's the second city of the Netherlands.
I was there the week before COVID lockdown.
For real?
Yeah.
How did you like it, James?
I liked it a lot. I liked Amsterdam. I was all over the Netherlands. I liked Amsterdam a lot. We stayed there and we traveled around. I was doing stand-up comedy all around the Netherlands. But I really want to go back there without having anything to do and just like vacation there. It seems like a really beautiful place.
You know, I'd love to show you around, man, you know? So, yeah, I'm from there.
And Rotterdam was very friendly. Like, I really liked it a lot.
Yeah. Dutch people we have this word, we call it sober, meaning, you know, they're very socially intelligent, you know, can hold a conversation. They can actually speak English. If you go to parts of Spain or some shit, they don't know how to speak English, you know, those kind of stuff. And they've been all around the world as well, you know? So they're very worldly, very travel-y, you know? And that's the vibe they give off, you know?
Yeah, no, I felt like I wanted to move there. It was really nice.
You know, it has everything, to be honest, you know? It has, I call it the Chicago of the Netherlands for Americans, if they would have to have a picture. And maybe, in NYC, I think I read, you're based there right now, or Jay told me.
Yeah.
It's something like that. You have anything and everything. You have bars, coffee shops. Let's say you were single. I know you're not. You can go to clubs, whatever. Everything's there.
Yeah. And then, but you traveled around. You wrote a novel about Thailand, another novel about Poland.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of drives you? Like, what was the moment where you mentioned in one of your posts or on your website that
Yeah.
you weren't happy with the way you were living life, health, wealth,
Yeah.
relations.
Yeah.
What weren't you happy with?
To give basically the kernel point, you have the juxtaposition between a 9 to 5 and to cater to the team and the brand of you, or to choose yourself, kind of. And I wasn't really liking the people at my office job, and I call it like a slave herd mentality. To each their own. And I imagine a lot of people, they have good careers, they make good money, they can support their family, but it was never for me. The type of person that I am, very eclectic, very eccentric, maybe slightly autistic, not to hurt people, but it was never for me. I was like a caged animal, something like that. It needs to be set free, and once I'm free, I'm more rabid, more loose, more myself, more authentic, to throw that, catchphrase around. And that was it a little bit. I knew I was never going to make it. Not to say that I'm making it now, but at least to start in the direction of this life, at least I'm gunning for something.
Like, do you think anyone enjoys the kind of office job mentality? I think people think it's safe, so they like that, and they might
Yes.
prize that. But I think my theory is people are not paid to do work. People are paid a salary, so they don't do what they love. I'm going to pay you to not do what you really want to do because I want you to do what I want you to do. So that's why it's worth money. And and that's what payment really is.
It's like, not taking a risk is a risk as well. That kind of blanket stating, that vibe.
Yeah.
They are afraid of a risk because, well, that's the herd versus anti-herd mentality. And I have nothing against it once more, but
And so what was the risk you took?
well, I basically quit the job. Like, no fail safe, and just went for this, the cultish-esque loyal following that you see. I shot for that, and with my bro that I was talking just now, we do lead generation and sales and copywriting, those kind of stuff, like agency stuff for those familiar in those spaces.
Yeah. And what was the story you told that people related to? Like, what do people relate to in your stuff?
I guess initially in the beginning, I'll keep it brief on that aspect, because the fury is tied to, well, specifically like anger. There was this girl, and it was like a red pill, blue pill plugging moment. It didn't end well, of course. And I started expressing like a type of energy or an anger that you could maybe even find like with control Twitter search, like the older tweets, like 2015. And you could tell there that it was raw, a little rough around the edges, and they felt something. I don't, still to this day, it's different for everybody what they see in me. The saying that you're not really yourself. There are thousands of projections of yourself in all the people. Well, now there are like 17,000 versions of me in people's heads. But they felt something what they call raw, authentic, loose, doesn't hold back his words, very direct, those kind of stuff. And then a couple people, from the sphere that I'm in, you could see the type of people, they retweet you and they build you up. And as you could see with the guy, I didn't ask to be on the show, so I was really surprised. I woke up that morning, or I couldn't sleep or something, I saw it. I was like, oh shit, it gets real. And I think it's something like that. They can respect me for that. I'm always respected by certain people, but two sides of the same coin. For the same people that I'm respected, I'm extremely hated by others. But that's the game.
Yeah, I think anytime you stick your head out, someone's going to want to chop it off. So
I like that.
And
that's a good one.
Part of it, though, it seems like you're really telling people who maybe, particularly men who are feeling a little lost or underachievers, what it means to be an authentic man or person.
Yeah.
And you also kind of you follow a lot of the principles of Bushido or like the old samurai way. The Book of Five Rings is something you've mentioned. So what are those principles and how do you apply them in today's life?
One of my, well, we can actually go really deep on this one. So there's a concept of Musashi. It's called the void. And it's something esoteric as to emptiness. And it would be maybe the contrast of existence, so to say. So you have reality and then you have non-reality. And I would say once you can grasp this esoteric concept, which is it's almost inexplicable, but you have to feel it somewhere, which I feel I started to get attuned to it. You can get there, and from this, like it's like a schism in reality. You can be blessed by certain marvels, such as this opportunity, which another person would not be able to get. Sorry to say that like that, but the more you understand that, then you get nice chances. And not to toot my horn, but some other opportunities had come my way in the last couple months and stuff like that. But it's only when you dare to almost risk your life or risk everything. And in that moment, it's like a chess sacrifice. It's very like a Mikael Tal. You throw an insane like piece, like, hey, let me just throw this piece like for free, like en prix. And a breach opens up because of that, either kinetically, kinesthetically, emotionally, psychologically, or, well, esoterically in this case. And there in this breach, like a Hail Mary, you can get what is for grabs. Maybe it's glory in this case.
So what's other than quitting your job, like when you first started building like kind of your brand, and I don't even
Yeah.
like calling it that because brand implies that you're almost lying, but what was your first Hail Mary? Like when were you starting to take those risks and what risks did you take?
I would say, so David Goggins, right?
Yeah. He's been on my podcast.
Yeah, shit, I haven't checked that one out. But he ran a marathon. He ran like a 100-mile marathon, like an ultra marathon without training, right? And I think in 2015, I wanted to one up myself, basically inspired by David Goggins. I did that as well. And during the training process, I couldn't walk properly for 3 months. Like I would have had needed like a cane, like because of a weird limp. It was pretty funny to see. And there was one of the parts that I knew was a little bit not completely sane, so to say, but in a healthy way, maybe. So.
And what did you do? Like what did you start writing that people were responding to?
Yeah, so I was like basically putting myself out there. Well, in this case, my body, because I couldn't walk. But in terms of like with writing, it's always also my style. It's very inatimidable. It's because I started writing personally in 2013 or longer than that. I've been writing for at least a decade. I was in writing groups when I was younger, and maybe you know him as well. Maybe you're a fan of Jack Reacher, Lee Child, the New York Times bestseller. I basically, homage to him. I basically researched him heavily, and my style is in you could say the lineage of people like Hemingway, Bukowski, Kerouac, and then Lee Child at the later end for the more mainstream, pop style that he has. Well, it's still highbrow for me. I love to read it, and I basically stole it or copied it, imitated from that. They call it like a machine gun Gatling style because of the punctuation. If you see a couple things in my long format stuff, it's pretty unhinged. I don't think somebody can copy that without feeling it.
Like what have been some hard times for you that you've written about that people relate to, that drew people to you?
I think, like even in that Thailand story, it's about the juxtaposition, or it's like a bildungsroman, of the hero's journey. Maybe I'm a very totemic, archetypical representation of this hero's journey, and they can see I come from, well, from a fall, so to say. Well, I just explained it was with a girl, but I didn't really go into the specifics. But it's like what they say about, what do they say, like about Harry Bosch once he enters a room, like Michael Connelly's his series. You can feel the unwritten backstory without it being presented. It's like the iceberg theory of Hemingway, but more in a character representation, me as a character in the story of other people's life that they leave open from time to time, as to say, I'm a character in their mind in this meta kind of ecosystem, external ecosystem of story narrative that we're building with each other. Something like that, I feel, to be honest. So it might be a little bit floaty, to be honest.
Yeah, like tell me what you mean by that. Like what specifically is the character you think you represent for the people who follow you?
I think it's an amalgam of multiple archetypes. If you are familiar with Robert Moore, you have the king, magician, lover, warrior. I'm not really the kingly archetype, I would say. There are people more prestigious in that field. But for example, the warrior archetype, the knights errant, like the cowboy. Literally, when I walk into places, like in those old westerns, you know those French saloons and the French doors. Once you open the door and the cowboy rides into town. Right before they were playing the piano and, you know, playing poker or some stuff, you know? But once the cowboy from not that town walks in, everybody stops. Like, yo, what are you doing here kind of beat.
Yeah, the music stops.
Yeah, everything stops. I have that as well. And yeah, you know, that's why I like to listen to Bon Jovi, Wanted, Dead or Alive. That's my, you know, OST, you know? So, yeah, it's
And how do
something
you
like
get that?
How do I get
How do you project that image?
I would say it's a concoction of multiple stuff. Genetic, of course, my immigrant background, and then kind of thrown in, like flung in the Western society. I would say other Asians have it as well, but their presence is more muted, more subdued. And it's just my personality is like that because maybe slightly higher IQ than average, Pareto law applying. Um, you know, I don't know. Maybe I felt too much as a kid or something, and then the way I speak. Actually, I watched a lot of Hollywood movies when I was young. I have a spreadsheet somewhere or like a Word file, 1,300 plus movies, and maybe that was programmed in. I didn't watch a lot of Westerns, but let's say you would put everything like in a spreadsheet with like a very smart person, you know, and you would fish out like all those patterns and then tape them together. And then, you know, this what was going in Fury's mind when he was 7, when you're most malleable, the theta brain wave state. Maybe I was, you know, forging that, and it was simmering, like incubating until like, you know, the pot blew off the lid, you know?
Maybe though you just believe it about yourself, and that's what projects it.
That's it as well. I like to quote Han Solo with the self-mythologizing aspect that he's the best in the galaxy before he did the Kessel Run, you know? Or he always, he shaves off the 12 parsecs. I do the same. Like I have stitches here. Every time I tell the story, like I change it up, or like the Joker loves to say, if I'd have a background, I'd prefer it to be multiple choice. Every time I travel, I'm like from Thailand. Next time I'm from Japan. Next time I'm from Peloton. Especially the younger girls, they don't know where Peloton is, you know, for the followers here.
And so, what do you? I mean, you've been building up this list. You've been writing these Twitter threads. It seems like Twitter threads are the way to build a following these days.
Yeah.
And what's your recommendations for like when you build these Twitter threads?
So shout out to my friend Ego Drift. He gave me a really good one. He said it has to be actionable. You know, it's an old Twitter adage. It has to be actionable, a kind of how-to. For example, let's say some young men would come on my profile and they would be oblivious as to quote unquote to be how to be stylish or suave or something like that. I would just write how to dress like a gentleman. 10 tips. You know, I could crank that out now. Actually, while we're talking, like on my phone, would be rude, but you know, and I whip that out, and that would do okay. You know, and you know, people would see that. Oh shit, yeah, it's typical Fury. You know, oh, he knows how to dress by blah, 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 you know, so something like that. You know, and these days, very much so. Something happened with the zeitgeist and the personality of people with convo, how to interact, be socially competent, so to say. I would say all my bros, they're better than me at it in their own right and passage, but I'm an observant guy, so I can spot like little social cues and tricks and quirks and tidbits of like verbal tics and phrases and stuff like that. And I copy it and regurgitate it, repackage it quite fast in a Musashi-esque lateral thinking style. So what I mean by that, for example, the other day I was at a hotel, and there's this line in Quantum of Solace where James Bond, Daniel Craig, on March 2006, he says something like, excuse me, miss. So he changes his voice. So the whole time he's like shouting, you know, shooting bad guys and stuff like that. But he changes his voice more polite, that's one. So that's tonality, if I were to write a thread, you know, so I'm writing it. And secondly, he does like the Benjamin Franklin effect, the psychological effect, and the marketing trick of micro-commitment, like a funnel, you know, direct response. And he's like, could you do me a favor? Well, it was a very simple question. It was something like, could you keep watch for me for this? Or can you tell the next guy that I left? Like a little, you know, Neil Caffrey-esque, like caper kind of trick, you know? But the way he built that up, as if it was something important to make the girl feel like she was like, yeah, I'm helping this suave gentleman. I did the exact same thing. Like the other day I was at a hotel in Portugal, and I knew the breakfast was already closed. But I was like, excuse me, is the breakfast still open? Could you do me a favor? You know, could you tell me the time? And she was like, oh, sorry, sir, it's already open. I was like, oh, man, I'm starving. I was not starving. No, I never starve, really. But then I followed up quickly, like the foot in the door trick. I was like, oh, and now I can ask something else, you know? What I actually really wanted. Like chess, right? 4D chess. You could relate with that, James, right? So I was already a couple steps ahead. Before I threw the gamut, I already knew a little bit where it was going to implode or explode. But it's more uncalculated, it has to be felt, like intuitively, I would say, you know? Yeah.
And so what did you ask for?
I think for a taxi or something, because we were actually clutch with the wedding that I was visiting, and we needed a couple things like logistically happen. You know, that was the important thing, but I made up this lesser important thing, and this was the real thing, and so maybe like a magic trick. I watched the podcast with you and David Kwong, if that's his name. I really like that one.
Yeah, yeah.
It's cool. I like that. I like magic.
Yeah, that was a
tricks.
great one.
I love that.
And that Benjamin Franklin thing really works. So the story comes from he was having a problem with this guy, and he asked the guy if he could borrow a book because he knew the guy was a big book collector, and the guy was surprised because they had been having their personal problems with each other, and the guy lent him the book. Benjamin Franklin returned it a week later, and then he never had a problem with the guy again because the guy in his brain thought, I'm the kind of person who lends Benjamin Franklin a book. So he was always nice to Ben after that.
Genius. Yes.
What's another trick that works a lot?
Oh,
And these aren't tricks, like these work.
social cues. I really I've been doing. I read this once. Tim Ferriss has the 5 bullet newsletter, right? And I think he mentioned it there, or it's in the beginning of Tribe of Mentors, I'd say. He says interviewing is in the sequencing. The secret sauce is in the sequencing of the questions. So you first ask, what is his first favorite question? Oh, which book did you gift it? Very low key, also like a micro commitment, And they'd be like, also out of left field, they've never heard that one. They might hear, what's on your nightstand? That's more like deep talk, not small talk, but more like, what kind of book did you gift last time? And they were like, yeah, just this and that. And then he follows it like with those hardcore, those silver bullet questions. I do that a lot as well, the sequencing of questions, especially if you have a B2B sales call with people. I do that. And the pitch raising of Tim Ferriss, like, he does that, like, I love that one, that you're listening, like, that's like a magic one, to be honest.
That's interesting. And that's related to some of your threads about tonality.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
What do you mean by that? Like, what do people do wrong when they speak?
I think they're not free flowing. So one of my favorite hobbies, it sounds maybe a little bit weird, is to be flowing. Like when you see somebody dancing and he does the dumbest moves, but he's still cool. It looks dumb, but it's still cool because he's having, how Tim Ferriss would say, present moment awareness, aka flow state by Mihaly with the long last name. And it's the same with vocal tonality and presence. So they're a little bit thinking, am I pronouncing it well? Do I sound like an idiot? Or maybe I need to have a deep voice at this one or this and that. And that's why I just say, like, let's say if you're from Liverpool, like Darren Till, the UFC fighter, how he speaks Portuguese, it's hilarious, actually. I love that. He speaks fluent Portuguese, but with the Scouse accent underneath it. I could never do that because, well, you have to, like actors like Cillian Murphy with Thomas Shelby. He's a great actor. You would have to get in that role for a long time, And me and my friends do like little games, like speaking like some Twitter accounts or Thomas Shelby, We like to play around with that. And it has to be like play. I think Eric Barker talks a lot about that. Play as a conversational trick like a lifestyle more. And a lot of things can come from that because people can notice maybe like some nervousness. Maybe like if somebody was quite as keen or perceptive as me, I heard it from a meta point of view in the first couple minutes of this podcast. I would say maybe the 2 minutes or something. You could hear some anxiety, like, yo, am I saying some dumb shit or something, and then just let go mentally. I said that to myself or something, and now I'm probably speaking like myself,
Oh my gosh, I love these clothes. Mizzen and Main. That's Mizzen and Main. It really is the most comfortable work clothes. Travel clothes. I had to travel this whole week. I'm traveling for a week and a half, and I just took Mizzen and Main clothes with me. Close out 2023 in style with comfortable, breathable, packable, and machine washable pieces from Mizzen and Main. As you wrap up your year-end goals, enjoy a Mizzen and Main dress shirt that you can wear confidently. I like that they've very, very just nice, solid colors. I don't really like to get all fancy in patterns and everything, although they do have some pattern shirts, but very comfortable clothes, stretchable pants. It's just super comfortable, but they look professional, and you can wear them casually or professionally. I like some of their flannel shirts or untuck shirts. I love untuck. I never tuck in. So again, whether you're shopping for a special someone or giving yourself the gift you really want, I just buy myself gifts. Mizzen and Main is the perfect gift for any guy who works, travels, and or cares about looking and feeling great. As you could tell by my many photos across the internet, I care about looking fantastic. I'm practically a model. And let's be honest, every guy loves to look great. So again, shop now at mizzenandmain.com and save 20% when you spend $130 or more using promo code James. That's promo code James at Mizzen and Main, Mizzen and Main.com. You know what I love about fantasy sports is that even though I'm not going to be a great basketball player or a baseball player or a football player or whatever, I feel like I get to participate and make decisions and use my knowledge of these different leagues to or these different sports to compete. So it's like I can pick my team or I can pick my favorite players and I could use my knowledge to make predictions and maybe even make money. So with the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League on Prize Picks. This is a league created specifically for combo projections that include two or more players from different sports or leagues. Want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz, who's also been a guest on this podcast, and I've been a guest on his? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries for some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Look, Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. What? So I love playing it. I love anywhere where I can use analytical ability with my interests to demonstrate some skill and maybe make some money. And I like the game-like aspect. I do wish they had chess as a category on prizepicks.com, but I'll settle for what they've got. Maybe I should make my own fantasy chess league. But in any case, I love Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/James. Use code James for a first deposit match up to $100. That's the easiest $100 you're ever going to make. So that's prizepicks.com/James and use code James. Daily fantasy sports made easy. You know, I have to go to a party later, for instance.
Okay.
Sometimes I get stressed at a party situation. I'm a little introverted. How can I go in there and exude a presence of playfulness?
It depends on your personality type. Let's say there's this beautiful book by Susan Cain, and you have the two main ones, introvert versus extrovert. There's a lot of nuance,
Yeah.
You can be both. It's a beautiful book. Anyway, I assume, James, that you're more introvert, right? Let's say the host of
Yeah.
the party. You just give your energy to the host. That's what I would do. So I was at a wedding, and I was not there to talk with everybody. I just walked to the groom. He invited me. I've known him for decades. I walk to him, pour all my energy into him. I say, bro, it's blessed. I respect you. You wanted this so long. I knew you in the trenches. You rose up from the trenches. You deserve this. And from that, I feel really in my own skin, and my archetypical nature gets expressed with him. And then we start vibing. And then he introduced maybe, to a friend of him. And from that, almost like a domino effect, I get into the flow of things. And flow and play are adjacent for me. That you get the ball rolling. That's how I would do it, the TLDR, for example, you go to the party, probably the host or the person who invited you, or let's say you bring your wife, just talk to her with a little bit. People love couples, for example. You could just stand in the middle of the party and just throw a couple, stand-up comedy, James-esque jokes that your wife just loves. She'll just start, whiling, yo, James is the funniest guy because she's your wife, she loves you. And then one guy yo, that's James, he's funny. And then he comes to you, almost like this magnetic distortion field that, Steve Jobs will talk about, and Buddhistic people as well.
That's a good idea. I'm going to try that. I'm going to just stand there in the center of the party and make my wife laugh. She always laughs at everything I say, too. So
right?
She's laughing at me, but most people don't know that she's just laughing at me, not with me.
So they wouldn't know that as well, right? It's all about optics. They're like, yo, that woman's having a blast. That's like kind of social proof, right? That's James. He's such a
Yeah.
funny guy. So yeah, feel free to steal that.
I always steal everything. So
Same for me, man, bro. It's that book by Matthew McConaughey, Green Lights. His mom is absolutely the superstar of that book, Green Lights. His autobiography of Matthew McConaughey. His mom, when he
Yeah.
was younger, gave him one of the biggest lessons in his life. So he had like a poetry contest or something, but he couldn't write poetry for shit, you know. And he says, "Mom, what do I do?" She takes a poetry book, you know. Here, copy this poem. He wrote it down, blah blah. And, you know, it was a beautiful poem. Then she says, "Did you write it down?" He says, "Yes." And then she says, "Do you understand?" He says, "Yeah, it's just a simple poem. I can do this." She said, "That poem is yours now. Send that to the contest." So once you understand something, once you can copy it, you know, further and further, it's yours now. You know, let's say you were to quote somebody, okay, that's fine. Or you find something on Twitter, want to show them some love, or social media, you know, spread the love. That's fine. But if you're in Convo, you're not gonna like homage everybody the whole time. That would be weird as hell. If I homage all my bros on Twitter the whole time, yo, you know, we'd have to have some like kind of high tech heads-up display, weird ass AI something. I don't know.
you know, it's true. Like one time I was on this TV show. John Stossel hosts a TV show here in the United States, and there was a guy on who was an economist, and he kept quoting other people. He's, you know, he's as so and so says, or as these people said in this paper. And in the commercial break, John Stossel turned to him and said, "Don't quote other people.
Yeah.
Just say what they said. We don't have time for you to quote everyone else."
I got you.
So
Yeah.
like, and he said basically the same thing. And it's true. You know, in music, people cover songs all the time, and sometimes the covers are better than the originals.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing like with ideas, with the way you live your life. It's okay if it's similar. Ultimately, you're going to be uniquely you, but it's okay to cover something else someone did.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's considered, you know, not an appropriate thing to do.
Yeah. I'd like to have a small tangent or interject there, James, that some people might ponder hardcore, how did Fury end up on, you know, the James Altucher show, right? And I like to give back to the karmic intent or the cosmos, because it was wild. It was a long shot. I know you're a little bit gambler, right? These were long odds. So there's a friend that I'll DM him after the show. You know, I'll tell him he'll love it. So you have in Choose Yourself, the How to Be an Idea Machine by you, right, James? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. But I had forgotten a little bit about it. I read it long ago, like 2013 or something. You know, Choose Yourself time. You know, I forgot about it. But he sparks up, those neural synapses, that part of my, memory. It comes up. I was like, oh yeah, I should do that more and more. I could do that. I do that. So I have here a journal right beside me for like my news list, my threads, whatever. Every morning I'm like forcing myself. I just write one to number 10. Value threads or social conversation party threads. Or I could write a thread now. 10 things I learned from the Altucher show. And then I wrote a thread that was about how to overcome writer's block. And I didn't tag you because I don't like to tag people for clout, basically. But I did use your name as an homage. It has to be known that it came from you, this idea that I was basically using. And if people want to know more, they can read your book. It's more embellished or more expanded and expounded upon. And then I saw you like that tweet. And knowing me, I go ballistic, of course. I'm just like a kid sometimes. I screenshot that, and then I put it on my timeline. I made it, as a joke. Of course I not made it. Then you have a couple haters. If haters listening to this right now, go to hell, if they're listening to this. They were like, yo, son, chill back. He just liked it. I was like, okay, you're right, I was like, okay, he's right. I was maybe overreacting. However, on the opposite spectrum, two sides of the same coin, we have Brother Graham. He sees this, and he keeps retweeting that one tweet. Like, he does it persistently, like for, I would say in Twitter time, feels like a long time, but maybe like a full week. He keeps doing that. I keep seeing it, so I keep pounding on that same tweet. I have infinite energy for those kind of stuff, However, one morning I woke up, I had the blast that morning. Like, he wrote almost like a, how do you call this? Like a cold DM to you, but in public, right? Like a letter.
Yeah.
Then it started. Because Benjamin, JGW, a Spanish friend of mine, very good friend, I've known him for long years, he quote tweets that one, and you respond to that one, okay, let's do it, exclamation mark. And that I saw, I was like, whoa, this was insane. Like, that is something that comes out of nowhere for me, like, that's what I meant from the void, like, oh, you have to pay homage to something, I don't know to what, but I didn't create that 100% by myself. I'm not Frank Sinatra. I did this by myself. So
Well, and again, there's the concept, that nothing. Like I was once talking to Ken Langone, who's the founder of Home Depot, a big, huge,
yeah,
huge store.
I've
And
heard about it.
he said, I asked him, what's it like to be? I asked him some stupid question like, what's it like to be a self-made billionaire? And he said, no one's a self-made billionaire. He had 300,000 people help him get to where he was, and he made them all millionaires. So
Right?
he created a lot of value for them.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting lesson for me, is that the more value you create for others, it comes back to you. Like all these people who were tweeting about you were not tweeting just as like a random thing. Like they really, love what you have to say and stuff. And what do you think is the value you provide them?
I've heard it multiple times, and I think I can give it in one succinct line. It's something like, they say I have a love for life. So sometimes they gaze at my photos and they see I have a huge yearning or ambition to make it. We have this meme, we're all gonna make it, but not everybody's gonna make it. I don't know about myself, but at least I have the desire to do so. And that is one of the most heartfelt emotions one can have and give to another person. And maybe they can feel that or something,
What do you think it takes to make it? What does it mean making it?
I think living true to yourself, bread's on the table for the target monthly income that you desire. If you like clubbing, throwing bottle service every month, it's going to be slightly higher. However, I feel I have that sometimes as well. I could just rage quit right now, go to Venezuela, propose to a farmer girl, give the dad a couple goats. I'd be fine by that as well. However, I have to live up to certain things I promised to other people. And that's why I can't stop in terms of giving back, so to say. And to each their own. Everybody has their own credo, their inner core, the eye of the storm, so to say. This unshakable, unassailable, wintry kingdom, like Marcus Aurelius would say. In that you have this belief set, these rules that you live by, and you have to live by that, live by the sword, die by the sword kind of beat. And you have to try to make it in accordance with that. Let's say some people hate traveling. For example, my father, he's like, I'm not going to that country, this, that. He lives true to that. He never travels, He stays at home, But all these, your health has to be tip-top shape for the energy that you want to give. Let's say you want to have grandchildren, right? You have to make it till that point. You cannot be one of those, I despise that. These grandparents that can't or are unable because of their low energy to play with their grandkids. That's not going to be me. I'll be like, I'll be wilding with them. I'll be rolling on the floor, swing, whatever. But some people don't want kids, right? Like, if let's say your goal was not to have kids, then if you have kids, you failed actually, right? And it's living through the things that is not pre-programmed in your head, what we talked about earlier. Some people think maybe the following the herd and having an office job is making it or something. But they're like psyoped in that, to quote the meme, with these propaganda gubbo-esque, we don't, that's a whole rabbit hole. That would take 5 podcasts or something. And I'm not even an expert on that, but I do know you have to live true to yourself, and maybe people resonate deeply with that,
How do you know you're living true to yourself? Like, it seems like people say that, but it's hard to really know what's true to you because the mind rationalizes. Like I could say, I'm living true to myself, but maybe I'm living true to what someone else made me think I'm living true to.
I feel you. I have these like meta discussions with myself a lot, maybe every morning or something. I have to quiet that voice. But for the more theist person, I would say if you feel that you align with God, let's say you have a monotheistic Christian background, or you get these, like, for the more esoteric people, these weird syncs that people start to give you free stuff. It's like, to come back with the analogy with the chess, you're opening up sectors in the infinity possibilities of reality, and you're choosing the right sectors. I learned this from this one book, Reality Transurfing or something. You're switching tracks to the proper...
I love that book, by the way. Vadim Zeland. Wait a second. Who is that guy?
He's a weird Russian. So shout out to my bro. He's a Russian friend. He said, bro, you should read this guy. It's a cool book. And I just started reading it, with the pendulums. So to give the simple answer for people, go read that book. It's a great book. I love it as well. I quote from it the whole time. You have to swing with the right pendulum. If you swing with the wrong pendulum, you will feel it in your soul or your gut. You get stomach aches and stuff like that. And you will wake up depressed or anxious with the more negative feeling spectrum, If you wake up well, geared up for warfare, or you're like, yeah, I'm gonna attack the day. You're at least gunning for it, in your own way, riding off into the sunset in your own fashion, I was surprised that you love that book as well. It's a little bit niche for some people, maybe, to be honest, So.
Yeah, it's a weird book, but it's just an analogy. Like the guy's a quantum physicist, supposedly. But it's hard to figure out anything about who he is.
I don't know. I don't know if he's still. Maybe he's not even alive. Maybe they made us think that he's somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like Homer or Shakespeare or whatever. Like he's out there. He's out there. Maybe 10 people just controlling his Instagram right now. Who knows? But
there's like a picture of him, but just from like the back, and
we can find out actually, James. We have context, right? If we really love him, like hey, who is he? Like people listening right now, go find him. I want to talk with him. Get him on the James show. Let's slide into DMs.
You might be right. He might not exist. It's definitely a weird book, but it's like combines science fiction, quantum physics, and self-help. Like it's a great, fun book.
Yeah, I love that. That's so me, so to say, because my interests are so vast. For people who are familiar with the Renaissance term, the Vitruvian Man, when I went to like a classics school in high school, the teacher, the classics teacher, he was saying to me, yo, Fury, you must become a Vitruvian man, know everything about Sandro Botticelli and Caravaggio. I was like, yo, bro, quiet, I'm just gonna go engineering school, whatever. However, TLDR, 10 years later now, my brain works like that, That's why I resonate with people like you or, other people that I follow and Vadim Zeland, because it's so eclectic. All these, like if you were to see a Venn diagram of what you just mentioned, if you put that, people are like, that's weird, I don't like that. People just like their own thing, I love my coffee black, bro. I drink latte macchiato, espresso, double espresso, then cappuccino, other day black. Sometimes I quit coffee, just green tea. I'm all over the place because I love all of them in their own right and passage and time of the day,
You said earlier, when I asked about what does it mean to make it, you said earlier you had made promises to some people. Yeah. What promises did you make to people?
Some things are maybe a little bit private, but I would say the simple stuff, just buy people houses. Or James, do you know the show Entourage?
Yeah, love that show.
I didn't watch everything, but I said if I were to make it, something like this, I would. Nah, I don't know if he knows, but he knows maybe of you, or if he were to Google, he'd be like, yo, how did you get on that, But I said if I ever get in Hollywood or something, you'll be part of my entourage, He was at the wedding as well. I've known that friend for 25 plus years, He doesn't resonate how weird I have become, like very ballistic. But I promised that to him, and I keep working my promise. So if you see me like flexing on Instagram or some stuff, I'll bring it on. I'll say, bro, I made it. Let's go. This is the supercar, or here have some cool top models. Dance a little bit with them. Whatever. And this person that I'm working with now currently, my bro, the marketing agency friend, I promised a lot to him in terms of like financial. I don't know how many figs I promised to him, but we have to make it. So.
Well, what kind of clients do you have?
It's all over the place. One of our last clients, he was into restaurant business. So we do like lead generation, and he wanted fine dining, such as caviar, saffron, this special Norwegian crab that I can't even pronounce, but he wanted restaurants for that, and we tried to help him with that. It was pretty tough, but it's all over the place. One time we were trying to work with this car dealer guy, sometimes recruiters, and it's more the tools or, the system that we have to provide the lead generation. We're still polishing that,
If you're doing copywriting and lead generation, why don't you make a product for yourself and do copywriting around that? You do a little bit of that with your course, with your writing course.
We were spitballing on that. To be honest, James, if you want to talk about that, my bro, he's the business creative savant on that, I give respect to him. Like, if you were to have him on the show, like in terms of marketing, he's like, how do I say this? He's like not a savant, but like a creative genius. So if he hears an offer or something, he can instantly feel what the trajectory is, how much money he's gonna make, how successful, So I say, bro, why don't we make a SaaS? Everybody's making SaaS. Now you need the capital first, but he gets that instantly. My intuition is more geared towards facilitating people, like the brokering. I think I have that with the network is your network kind of vibe. I meet a lot of people because of my passions, like traveling and stuff like that. And sometimes I can connect to people by accent a little bit, and maybe my personality as well or something. And I meet a lot of people, so.
Like now you've written a couple of novels that are published. You can find them on Amazon. Yeah. But You should write a book, like a nonfiction book that has your stories plus some of your principles about, like, call it The Authentic Man or something like that.
Oh, actually, a
And
funny thing about that, James. I wrote this in my journal a couple pages back. I had that epiphany. I'm gonna do that. Yeah. Thanks so much, man.
you should totally do that because
Yeah.
you've got 17,000 followers. They're growing every day. And a lot of people have 1 million followers, but no loyal followers.
Yeah.
Your followers are very loyal.
Yeah.
And for good reason. They respect what you have to say and they're learning from it. So it feels like you should feed them more.
Yeah.
Like, don't just feed them tweets.
Yeah.
They're hungry.
Yeah. So
They want a full meal.
thanks so much. Yeah. So I was basically just giving them appetizers the whole time. It was a little bit. I'm gonna be candid with you. You know, I know you're all about that. You know, being like heartfelt, bleeding all over the page and stuff like that. It's more so. How do I say this? My interests are so broad that I have to kind of specialize for a social media platform audience to create like a product, right? Because sometimes I'm all over the place. You know, I read like a blog piece about quantum physics. Next time I'm reading a blog piece about art. You cannot repackage that or productize that, right? However, in this case, what you just mentioned, I can productize myself, so to say. And I had that eureka moment though. So to shout out to another Bushido book, Hagakure by Yamamoto Tsunetomo. It's famous amongst the samurai book lovers, so people should read that. I had that idea because it's basically 1,300 short text that have no connection with each other, very non sequitur, but the underlying tone is Bushido, you know? So, for example, if somebody slides you, just whip out your samurai sword and cut him in half, something like that.
So wait, on that one, what's the modern example of that? Like, you're not going to whip out a sword and cut them in half. What will you do? What's modern Bushido?
I would say if a person dishonored you or slighted you in such a fashion, you can either do either of two things. If he's gonna be in your social influence long, let's say he can gossip to other people and stuff like that, and it would impede on you in a 4D chess kind of threat fashion, you have to play a little bit slow game. You can plan your revenge later. It's quite Machiavellian or dark triad. That's not for everybody because you're gonna be fuming and smoldering with a kind of, well, fury or hate that can eat some people up. However, that's not for everybody. Or you could just have boundaries and say, hey, I don't really like that, and you know, I don't think, you know, you can be quite candid or say it in a more indirect way. Some people are very socially attuned to using such phrases, but I would kind of like cut off, you know, unfollow them on Instagram or something like that. Or to put it a little bit hard, just throw the number away. Just, you know, don't talk to them a little bit and just let it play out by itself and just stop giving and feeding attention to that. That's what I would do from a non-toxic point of view to keep it healthy.
I think that's the key because
Right.
I think in today's social media, everybody thinks that everything they say should be reacted to. And if you don't react, that's like slicing them in half.
Yeah, that's another Chinese principle. It's like Wu Wei. It's just go with the flow. That aligns more with Taoism. That, you know, the ebbs and flow of life, because Tao means wave, and lives have waves, ups and downs, and these stimuli are ups and downs and waves. It comes crashing like a crescendo, and you just have to ride the wave like a surfer. You feel it and just catch and release. I love that word, like catch and release. Let's say he gives you negative energy, a little bit spiteful. You maybe you catch it, but you can let go. You just release it. You know, you don't have to do anything. You're just riding it. You're riding this dark age that we're in, the Kali Yuga. But yeah.
And in the reality transurfing sense, you don't have, he's trying to put you on his pendulum.
Right?
You don't have to get on his pendulum.
Yeah. 99% of the people, I don't like their pendulums. I'm not saying that to their face, but I'm like, I'm dipping, like, yo, I'm not touching that, you know? I'm not even giving one molecule of oxygenated glucose, like the brain energy. You know, if you were to have like an fMRI, like a spike
Yeah.
or something, I'm not even thinking about that. I'm like, I'm on the Altucher show or something, you know? That's what I like. I'm there. That person's gone.
This is such a valuable service for all business owners, big businesses, small businesses, doesn't matter. I wish I had this in the many different businesses that I've started. Sometimes it seems like your business is humming, but then suddenly you don't understand it. You're starting to fall behind. You're not understanding where your costs are, where your revenues are, where your payments are. Teams are buried in all sorts of like BS work, and you can't seem to close the books. So you need like one dashboard, one source of truth.
I'm jealous of this business, NetSuite from Oracle, of course, NetSuite by Oracle. I wish I'd come up with this idea. It's a brilliant concept to have all your business intelligence on one dashboard. This is why you need to know these three numbers: 37,000, 25, and 1. So 37,000, that's the number of businesses which have upgraded to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the number one cloud financial system, streamlining accounting, financial management, inventory, HR, and more. 25. NetSuite turns 25 this year. That's 25 years of helping businesses do more with less, close their books in days, not weeks, and drive down costs. One, because your business is one of a kind. So you get a customized solution for all of your key performance indicators, your KPIs, in one efficient system with one source of truth. Manage risk, get reliable forecasts, and improve margins. Everything you need to grow all in one place. So right now, download NetSuite's popular KPI checklist designed to give you consistently excellent performance absolutely free at netsuite.com/James. That's netsuite.com/James to get your own KPI checklist. netsuite.com/James.
The future of learning is definitely online. Like, it's such BS that you have to spend $200,000 or take $200,000 in loans and go to some fancy school when it's useless. It doesn't guarantee you a job. Most employers, including me, do not care about degrees or grades or anything like that. We want to care that you love what you're doing, that you know what you're doing, in some cases that you have experience or that you're willing to learn. But people in general love learning and are curious. Like, the key to success is curiosity. And I think masterclass.com is the perfect model for online learning. I'm really happy they're sponsoring this episode. If you're going to give a gift, give the gift of learning. Masterclass makes a meaningful gift this season for you and anyone on your list, because both of you can learn from the best to become your best, from leadership to effective communication to cooking. Let me tell you some of the classes I've taken. I've taken comedy from Steve Martin. I mean, can you believe I can take a class from Steve Martin on comedy, or Judd Apatow, my favorite comedy director? I could take an actual class from him on writing. Wolfgang Puck on cooking. Dan Brown on writing, or Judy Bloom, who's been on this podcast, on writing. By the way, Wolfgang Puck also has been on this podcast. It's such a pleasure. I try to take classes all the time from masterclass.com. And whether you're watching Masterclass on TV or listening in audio mode in the app or on their site, the quality speaks for itself. It's like these Masterclass instructors are your own personal mentors that are going to help you reach the next level. How much would it cost to take one-on-one classes on comedy from Steve Martin, or on chess from Gary Kasparov? You just wouldn't be able to do it. But it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. With a Masterclass annual membership, it's $10 a month. Memberships start at $120 a year for unlimited access to one-on-one classes with all 180 plus Masterclass instructors. So it's not just $120 for one instructor. You get all 180 plus Masterclass instructors. Boost your confidence and find practical takeaways you can apply to your life and at work. And if you own a business or are a team leader, use Masterclass to empower and create future-ready employees and leaders. That's the real education in today's world. So this holiday season, you can give one annual membership and get one free at masterclass.com/JAS. JAS, of course, stands for the James Altucher Show. So right now you can get two memberships for the price of one at masterclass.com/JAS. Masterclass.com/JAS. Offer terms apply. And what's another example of the modern Bushido?
Loyalty. Most people can never understand that, either culturally or nature versus nurture kind of beat. Of course, epigenetics exists, but somehow they can't cater to loyalty. Coming back like a little bit full circle, or tying it to what we said before, there's some things I promised to people, and if I said that I was going to be loyal to them, I'll be loyal in as to what I said to them, and I'm going to try to deliver on that promise, or quote unquote die trying. And I don't know, and I'm not talking about monogamous, faithful loyalty kind of relationship, not romantic and sexual and stuff like that. To each their own, different styles. But I'm talking about living up to your word that it is bond. I do not say something half-heartedly. That's also modern Bushido, but it's from that book as well, the Hagakure that we're talking about. If you say something, your spirit, he talks about the spirit, can be felt in each word that you say or your measure. That's a little bit also with that presence, to come back to that tonality thing that we were talking about, you know? When I say something, they think, yo, this guy's for real, you know? I have a little bit issues with that when I try to crack a joke. I have to do like a lopsided smirk. I'm not good at smiler, you know? They were like, "Oh, is he joking now, or is he serious?" But when I say something that I'm serious about, I'm gonna try to do it, or I'll keep my mouth shut because people gonna try to catch me on that. You know, walk the talk, kind of be like, "Hey, Fury said that, blah blah." You know, he said he was gonna be in the Altucher show. Probably right now, you know, to feed the haters a little bit for 1 second. They were thinking, "Nah, he's not gonna do it. He's gonna choke. He's gonna miss his flight." I'm like, "No, bro. This is clutch. This is NBA Finals. I'm Michael Jordan. You know, like." I'm gonna hit it, you know. I'm there. So
Well, and it seems also with the modern Bushido, honesty is, which is related to loyalty, of course. Honesty is a very important thing, and I feel in today's society,
yeah,
people think they're telling the truth, but they're not really. They're not really saying what they like and what they think. Like if you're in a business meeting with your boss, and your boss says, "What do you think of this?" You might hate it, and you might be bored to death.
yeah,
Or there's so many instances where people tell, let's say 80% of the truth, not 100%. And I think when you're constantly slicing away 20%, eventually you become less than who you should be.
yeah. I can never look myself in the mirror if I do that. You know, that's what we were talking about, living true to yourself. If I keep doing that, I keep self-compromising on myself. I have compromised in the past. I'm only human, but if I keep doing it, I won't believe myself anymore. If you can't believe yourself, then who's gonna believe in you in the end? You know. So maybe your mother. Some mothers always love you, but um, you know.
But I wonder,
Yeah.
like, I feel like we're too trained to not be honest. We don't even
Mhm.
know that we're not being honest.
Yeah.
I wonder if there are little ways to practice honesty, like real honesty.
I
And
was.
not radical honesty where you say everything on your mind,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
real,
Mhm.
like my word is law.
To not dox my friend, but I talk with a certain bro in the Netherlands a lot because I left the country. But um, he said he was gonna do something, but he didn't do it. And those are those little steps. It was just something to give a tangent example is something like, I'm gonna stop drinking coffee because I feel it gives me anxiety. You know, some people have that. Then he says, "Yo, brother Fury, I'm gonna stop drinking coffee." Oh, actually, yeah, that's actually what he said. It's not that harmful if I share that. I'm gonna stop drinking coffee for 7 days. Guess what? He didn't do it. And I said, "Okay, like, look," in Dutch, like, look, that's wrong, bro, because I know you. This is not the first thing that you told me that accountability partner kind of beat. You know, I'm not up for that. I'm not your babysitter. I said that to him. I'm like, because he's my bro, I say that to very like radical honesty. But for him himself, what he can say to himself, you know, with himself, being honest with himself, you know, man in the mirror kind of beat, or more the Stoic philosophy, start from your own center. If you say you're gonna stop drinking coffee, or you're gonna go the paleo diet, do a little bit reductionist elimination diet because you feel your gut is all over the freaking place, you know, cleanse that. I said, for example, since March that I was gonna try a new ballistic way of living to see what kind of moonshots I can put out. Well, I'm now on the Altucher show, and you know that was just luck. You know, like trying to play baccarat like 20 hands, like full nines the whole time, like a little bit like gambling with my lifestyle, so to say. You know.
Yeah, but I wonder if there's a way to give like for him, he
Okay.
couldn't do 7 straight days in
Okay.
a row of no coffee.
Okay.
Maybe he should have done 2.
Yeah.
Like there should be like little challenges you could make to practice the honesty thing. And then you could build up confidence that, oh yeah, I could do what I say. And it gives you more confidence in your words. Because maybe you start off not believing in yourself after a while, and then you lose that ability to say truth.
Yeah. To tie it back, it's also like a micro commitment, right? For yourself. For example, there were multiple requests. What cigar is Fury gonna smoke on the show? There was another request, of course, because of my brand. He has to say on brand that which whiskey is he gonna drink. However, I thought to myself, I promised that to myself as well, to stop perpetually drinking for no reason because it's copium, heavy cope, go to Copeville. And it's just a small promise you make to yourself. Just skip the drink, right? Just skip one drink. And I don't have any booze in my house, right? You can work with your environment. A small tangent. Don't buy candy if you're an incessant candy, cookie eater kind of stuff. Don't have it in the house. I think it's one of those productivity tricks, right? Environment beats willpower kind of beat, That's why, coming back to loyalty, it's nice if you have a nice mainstay girlfriend or spouse or brothers who would die for you and you for them, because it's the five people around you, you are the average of the five people around you kind of beat, And coming back to those kind of stuff, bro, I live alone. It's super quiet. I don't have a girlfriend or anything to impede on my, that's for me, so to say, And I don't have cookies in my house. I don't like even cookies, but let's say I would like that. But for with the booze or something, or I don't even buy cigars because I know I'm gonna smoke them the whole time, chain smoke them. I don't buy them. It's a special occasion. I buy it. That's something else. And it's with manipulating your environment, or if people love tricks, the proximity productivity trick. My guitar's right there. Every morning I wake up, play. I promise to myself, play one song. One song turns into 3 songs. And that's how you build the habit, And sometimes then after 3 songs, I time it. And I know that after 30 minutes, I get into flow. So 3 songs is 3 times 10. I can go from 30 minutes after flow, then you go into 5 songs. And then I know I have to stop because you're wasting energy or you're wasting the day or something. Then it's not anymore what you promised to yourself. So that's a concoction of heavy journaling that I have and being very observant of my own patterns. I love to capture patterns in my journal, I journal every 5 seconds, and I'm making mental notes the whole time, like I probably have like a drop-down list, like folders in my head, but to each their own. They can use Notion or, whatever, Evernote. Do hold yourself accountable, So that's.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Like, if you want to write every day, you don't have to write a novel a day. You don't even have to write a story a day. I tell, like, my daughter who's wants to be a writer, just write even like a paragraph. And to your point in one of your threads, just write how you speak. Even dictate word for word a conversation you had with somebody, just a paragraph. And then you wrote. You're done. You did your job for that day.
Yeah. To people listening, I still do that. I say to myself, minimum 200 words a day. If I'm feeling at 500. And on a very productive days, that transforms, But there, of course, I have off days, but it's still 200. I like to put in the reps, and same with trying to stay healthy in terms of physical fitness. I resonate heavy with that.
Yeah, like let's say, oh yeah, what do you do for your health?
Just
What's your health regimen?
It's not that good, so you should definitely get other people on that on the show for that. But I do just like weightlifting, compound lifts. I love the sitting overhead press. I'm trying to get nice shoulders, and because it's summer where we are, I'm going for that. Well, not white boy summer, that wouldn't apply for me. But I'm working like my biceps and triceps right now, and reducing fat heavily. So like that would be a keto diet, kind of a ketogenic diet for those unfamiliar, and paleo diet. And well, I just had a wedding, so I was boozing, but I wasn't even drinking for. I had a thread as well, 20 days sober. It was a little bit tongue in cheek because people were probably rolling when they saw that thread, like, what did he do? Like as a homage to myself. But so I try to stay with a clean diet, basically, because it's summer, and I try to work on that as well.
I think also it keeps the brain clean when you have a clean diet.
Yeah, 100%.
Like whenever I'm going to play, like in a chess tournament, for instance, I go keto at least for the week beforehand and during. Like I'm just eating protein and very little of carbs or anything like that. Just because I know for myself I'll get sluggish while I'm playing, and I won't play as well.
Exactly.
So you have to have like a reason to doing it. Like if I was just going to say, oh, I want to do it to be healthy, that might not actually be a good enough reason for me. Like I could say to myself, oh, I'm healthy enough, I don't have to care. But for if there's something I really want, and I do what it takes to get it.
Yeah, I feel you on that, James.
Because otherwise I won't get it.
Yeah, exactly. It's very important to you. You want to win the games, and for the games you have to think clearly, and you don't want brain fog, brain mud, those kind of stuff. And to come back to keeping my own word, I want it to be my full self in terms of the eclectic information I can piece together from my mind. Right before this conversation, I left for the wedding, but I left a bottle of vitamin B1, which is thiamine. Shout out to the late John McAfee. He was heavy on that, It's very healthy for your mind. I kept the bottle there, and I knew I was gonna come home and have the podcast. Made a cup of coffee. I swallowed like 5 pills, or I took a heroic dose of vitamin B1. You know,
Does that help in the short term?
in the short term, I would say. But if you do it consistently, I've been doing it consistently a long time now, a couple months. Since you're a chess player, you will get this. Some people are not, let's say your classic rating is really good, but they're not good bullet players, right? 1 minute, it's different style thinking.
Yeah.
And for the way I wanted to live my life in this mini experiment that I was doing these last couple months, I wanted to make rapid decisions as if I was playing bullet chess games with my life. Vitamin B1 has been helping with that. I was saying to my bros, like, bro, my risk taking is insane, it's dumb maybe, because when you're gambling, you lose as well, of course. But that type of intelligence is maybe short-lived, but it was going well for me. And it's one.
Oh, vitamin B1, good. I'm gonna try that. So
yeah, plus caffeine.
What's next for you?
Plus caffeine, James.
I didn't drink coffee at all during this tournament because I felt it would make me too wired, and then I would take too many risks.
A tip for that, James. Well, I can show you actually, since it's pretty cool. We have video. I have coffee here, but caffeine gives the spike, right? You said wired, right? However, you have to mix it with green tea, which gives L-theanine, and the spike then gets blunted. And I've been heavy experimented with that as well. And I go to a club or something, and I order two things, like first coffee and then green tea. And if I'm like going ballistic, I order maybe an espresso, but balance it back with green tea. And one bro was like, bro, why are you doing that? I said, bro, it's the caffeine L-theanine combination. We're in the Twitter sphere. We constantly see these little cool things, but why are we not doing it? I'm like, yo, bro, I'm at the club. I need to be, 100%, 169% the whole time,
Yeah, I'm gonna try that. Never heard of that before.
Yeah, that one is my personal concoction. I've never seen anybody whip that out consistently. So
I wonder how it would taste if you mix them.
Even I haven't done that. I do chase them though, but I'll try that. Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Or iced. Iced, it might be good.
That's interesting. Yeah, I once heard somebody was mix. Oh, I think it was the creator of the Ethereum, Vitalik. He mixes red wine with green tea on ice. I had never heard that combo. That was an insane combo. Like, bro.
That's genius because the wine makes you lose inhibitions, but it might make you a little tired.
Exactly.
So it's better to have the energy at a party, but have less inhibitions.
Yeah, it's genius.
And he's an awkward guy, so it works for him probably.
I'm gonna try these stuff, James. I'm gonna experiment on it. I'm gonna, email you or DM you like how it's going.
It seems like in today's world, a life of balanced experiments. I mean, you don't want to experiment with like jumping off a building, but a life of balanced experiments is the best way to move forward because so much is unknown. Like all information is a commodity now. So our jobs really is to explore the frontier of information, and you can only do that through experiments now.
Iterative feedback loops. You have to experiment with yourself as if a scientist, and once you get new data, I love data. That's why I have infinite journals everywhere. I keep a dream journal, journals everywhere, paper everywhere. It's data, good or bad, wins or losses, it's data, and you put that back in the feedback loop. And that's why I've been maybe accelerating, more pristinely. And to answer your question, what's next, I don't know if it's my place to share this, but one of my favorite pieces of you, James, is the chess match or chess battle that you had with the late Emery Tate.
Oh, yeah.
It's a beautiful piece in a more poetic sense. I really felt that.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was just thinking about him yesterday because I played him in Washington, D.C. in, I think it was 1997, August. And that tournament I saw is coming up again. It's like 25 years later. It's coming up in August. And I saw, and I was just thinking about him because that's the one game I remember from that tournament. I'm going to play in that game again. I was going to write to his son, actually, and tell him I'm going to play in this 25th anniversary of the first time I played him.
You should. Because I wanted to share. I spoke with them, I am slightly acquainted with them. I met the younger brother a couple months ago, and I thought it was a nice thematic connection that you and I have. So you met the father, and I met the son. I spoke to him about his dad and those games, and specifically that game of yours. I brought up that blog piece, how it made me feel, stuff like that. And so I thought I wanted to share that, they seem to have their life in check in terms of what they're gunning for. And that's the next level for me as well. Not per se that I have to have like a flexing kind of life, but trying to deliver on the promise that I made.
Yeah, and his son's like a world kickboxing champion.
Yeah. But also, he's doing good with
It's very
TikTok.
interesting.
He has good TikTok marketing campaigns these days, so it's going well for him.
Well, listen, Fury, anytime
Yeah.
you want, come on the podcast. Anything you got going, you can come on and talk about. It's been great chatting with you.
Thank you very much, James.
And if there's something you're putting out there and marketing and selling, and when you write your book on the authentic man, in the modern Bushido man,
I love that, the authentic
come
man.
on the podcast and we'll talk about it.
Thank you so much, man. Yeah.
You got to do it now.
Yeah.
Because no one's written a book like that, I don't think.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to do it, man. Thanks so much. Thanks for the tip.
And Fury, it's been great having you on the podcast. Again, come on anytime.
I'm extremely honored as hell. Like, I was surprised. It's one of the bigger opportunities of my life, so huge respect to you. Huge shout out to you, James. Thank you very much.
No, and look, it's part of this idea of there's a lot of podcasts out there that have like presidents or the greatest athletes in the world, but it's hard for people to relate to whoever the most famous persons in the world are.
Yeah.
And it's good to talk to people who are really challenging themselves and trying to make it, and they're in the process rather than having completed the process. Because I think when you're on the other side, you don't always have the perspective that you had when you're on the journey. Because the journey's hard.
Yeah.
And people forget that.
Yeah, so it's nice if they get to reacquainted with the journey, the trenches,
Because that's the fire.
Yeah, oh yeah, I love that part. Yeah, I love the part in Choose Yourself, the fire, yeah.
And Masashi, Miyamoto, the guy who wrote the Book of Five Rings, he always kept that fire. He would, if he felt he was losing, he'd go into a cave and fight.
If you like the end of his life, you should check out the biography written by William Wilson. It's called The Lone Samurai. It dictates the last part of his life when he goes into a cave. It's almost like a hermit, hermit finish. It's pretty cool. I won't spoil it. You should check it out.
Yeah, I'll read it. I'm familiar with his last 2 years. He basically wrote his book those last 2 years and then died.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. But all right, sir. Thanks so much,
Thank you,
and
James.
hopefully you'll come on the podcast again.
Thank you very much, James.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you very much, sir.
Becoming your strongest financial self? Good plan. Northwestern Mutual's Guide to Good Financial Planning can help you balance spending and saving, set goals, and start creating the life you want to be living. Get it today at northwesternmutual.com/goodplan. The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Luxury is meant to be livable. Discover the new leather collection at Ashley with premium quality leather sofas, recliners, and more, all built to last. No matter how many spills, scuffs, or pet-related mishaps come its way, the leather collection at Ashley is made with the durability you need for the whole family. Shop the new leather collection at Ashley and find chairs starting at $499.99 and sofas at $599.99. Ashley, for the love of home.